So, we're going to talk today about the power of journaling, and I'm hoping that my dogs don't start barking. So, um, the first thing that I really wanted to ask was, do you journal? Have you tried journaling? Have you picked up a journal and put your pen to paper and gone, I don't really know what I want, what I want to write, and then just kind of chucked it in the bin and not bothered? Or are you the kind of person that every day journals in some way? So I started journaling. I was trying to work it out the other day. I started journaling over 30 years ago. So of course I look very young. But over about 30 years ago, I started journaling, and that doesn't count those days when I was a little kid and used to have those kind of like silk-covered diaries with a pathetic little lock on that I used to try and scribble my deepest secrets and the boys that I fancied and stuff like that. But I truly started journaling when I was in a really, really horrible place. And I journaled mostly at night. And what happened was I just, put my pen on the paper and everything came out. And what I've noticed about my journaling is over the years that it's changed. I do different things, but the things that have remained the same have been how I like to journal. So I guess journaling is like anything in life, that if you do something in a particular way and that gives you results, then you would stick to it. So with my journaling, I typically, it's not always the same, but typically I will journal at night. So the first thing that you need to do to get yourself into a journaling space is discover the time of day that you want to journal. So I've got friends who like to journal in the morning. I got friends who journal all day long. But I'm mostly let's go to bed and get out my journal and let the day go. The other thing that I know about the way I like to journal is I need silence. I cannot stand noise. And I live alone, so luckily I don't get disturbed. Well, when I say I don't get disturbed, I have two dogs, and when they've decided that they don't want me to write, then I get licks in the face and I get paws on my journal and stuff like that. But mostly I like silence. I don't have any music. But you might like music, you might like meditation music or something like that. I generally don't like candles and stuff like that in the bedroom, but And what I love about writing in bed is that it creates like a little cozy den for me. So the first thing about the power of journaling is getting the place right, the place, the time, the environment. You might like to have essential oils, be surrounded by crystals, all sorts of things. And then the next thing I do is I have a really, really simple meditation. So I won't do the meditation, but I'll talk you through it very quickly. So I imagine that I've got roots growing from the bottom of my feet, going into the heart of Mother Earth. And I breathe that energy up into my heart. So I do that a couple of times. And then I take that breath up and out through my crown chakra and up into the heart of consciousness. And then I bring my breath down. So what I'm doing is I'm grounding and centering myself and just bringing myself into a place where I'm ready to write. So I guess the next question is what kind of journal do you want to write in? And this has changed massively for me over the years. So I've gone from writing in all kinds of like cheap, nasty, horrible journals that I've bought in like the local supermarket and stuff like that. And now I much prefer to write. I like nice paper. I mostly like paper with dots on. But where I live in the middle of nowhere. I live in rural Spain, and trying to get journals, unless I order them online, is really, really difficult. So I can get, stuff like this from the supermarket. But I do order really, really lovely journals. And by the side of my bed, I've got a pot of glitter gel pens, all of different colours. So I like to write multicoloured, and I like to scribble and do stuff like that. So get something that you really want to write in. I mean, Yes, you can buy journals that don't cost very much, but it's, if you're very kinesthetic and very visual, how it looks is important, because you want to bring your heart to the paper, and how the paper feels and how the pen glides on it. I probably sound like a complete journaling freak, but I love different, I love the quality of the paper, and I'm really into, coloured pens and writing with nice pens and stuff like that. And I really think that kind of feeds your soul. So the next thing about journaling is that I always say to my clients that, that there are no rules. You make your own rules up. But when it comes to putting pen to paper, I always say start with the mundane. So let's say you want to ask your guides a question. You want some guidance in life, and you want to know something, and you can write your question down in your journal and then sleep on it. And in the morning, when you start writing, I always say start writing rubbish. Write anything, just write. So I call that the mundane. So you might write, I woke up this morning, I had a cup of tea and a glass of water, and then what will happen is your unconscious mind will guide you to what I call the magical. And it's just having that process, because often what happens is we look at the page and we go, well, I have no idea what to write. I've got absolutely no idea. So start with the mundane, and then the magical will come. So in terms of journaling, this journal, this actually was my lockdown journal that I started in March of this year. And this is just all free writing. It literally is. I put pen to paper and I wrote about how I felt that was going on in the world, and what was going on inside with me, memories that were coming up and stuff like that. So this is very much a journal that is free writing. And I actually have lots of journals by the side of my bed, because I have a journal for affirmations and gratitude. I have a journal for scribbling the stuff that needs to come out of my head, and I have another journal that I write ideas and inspiration and stuff like that in. So when it comes to journaling, it's literally start off with the mundane, and then your muse will take over, and your writing will become magical. So some of the things that I do in terms of journaling. So we've talked about free writing, that you just put pen to paper and you write. And some people like to do morning pages and stuff like that. I'm like I said, I like to journal at night, and that really does it for me. But if you like journaling prompts, so I have this little book of 101 affirmations, and what I do with this is I use it like a deck of oracle cards. So I'll flick through and I'll pick an affirmation, and I'll do that in the morning, and I'll take that affirmation through the day. So here's what you can do with affirmations. So this one says, today I'm in tune with my truest emotions. So my emotions are a reflection of the reality I'm choosing to exist within. So the way that I do affirmations is I will go to this, I use my own journaling book. So I'll go to this book with affirmations in it. I will then carry that affirmation through with me for the day, but I turn it into a question. So this affirmation, see, I've already forgotten it. Today I'm in tune with my truest emotions. I turn it into a how can I? So I'm constantly asking myself, because this is to do with emotions, I then will stop and tune into my emotions during the day to see what's going on. And then when the evening comes, I will write the affirmation down, write the page number that it's on, and that's when I'll start to do the free writing. So then the other way is to pick journaling prompts. So I've got all kinds of journaling prompts, but I do, like I say, I use my own journaling books. So This particular book is about journaling prompts for the heart. I've opened it up on the page, which is about vulnerability. And the question says, how can you practice being vulnerable and tender? So again, you might not know the answer in the moment. Do the three hearts connection. Bring your focus into your heart. You may be into crystals. You can just sit with a crystal. You can ask the question and then just let your muse meet you, and then put your pen to paper. So journaling prompts are fantastic for really helping you to get your journaling practice going. So there's free writing, the structure, which is the journaling prompts. So what I want to do is and we've talked a little bit about affirmations. I think what I want to talk about is, she says, so I've made some notes for you, so if you want to have a copy of these. So I've got things like questions for your day, words for inspiration, doodling, mind mapping. There's the 5-word mind map. So when you're stuck with something, you would create a circle in the middle of the page, put a word in it, and then do 5 words that you feel associated with. And then on each of them you can do 5 more words, and then you can write about what comes up, because again, that's your unconscious mind telling you or sharing with you a story or a picture. The other thing you can do is spell out words. So if you've got the word love, you might have life, open, values, and evolve. And again, just start free writing about that. But what I want to talk about is, we've talked about mornings and evenings, so I'm going to talk about rituals for a brand new journal, or a new moon, or a new month. So the day-to-day journaling stuff is very much, you make your own rules, you decide when, you get your environment right, decide if you're going to free write, follow prompts, do affirmations. I'm going to come back to gratitude journaling a little bit later, but you decide how you make that work for you. But what I do at the beginning of a new month, or a new journal, or a new moon, is in a journal, I'll start off by setting my intentions. And I've got a really rubbish drawing of a hand here, but I just want to demonstrate. So the first thing I do is I put my hand on my journal, and then I draw around my hand. So it's not a very good picture, I'm afraid, because it was a bit of a scribble. So I draw around my hand, and then I will start to do some kind of mandala. So you can use objects. So I've got a piece of crystal. I've got the circle on the base of a little angel. If you really wanted to, you could get your compass out and your ruler and do stuff like that. I tend to do like the Zentangle thing. So I just kind of make lots and lots of different diagrams. But the other thing you can do with this is you can write your intentions or affirmations around the hand. So, I'm open to receiving all of the abundance that the universe has to offer me. Or you might have a goal for the coming month, something like that. Or you might just want to write inside your fingers. And then when you've done it, it's about holding your energy and your intention on the journal, that this new period that's coming up is going to be as you have put in there. So that's about bringing energy and your intentions to your journal. So at a full moon, I tend to write a letter to letting go, do some forgiveness stuff, and then typically I will burn everything. And then what I want to do is I want to welcome in the new moon when it arrives, by setting my intentions and drawing around my hand. Now, if you don't fancy drawing, these are called Hamza hands. Again, I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's a mandala inside a hand. And so you can colour in the mandala cut it out and glue it into your journal. And the same thing applies, is that you would color it. So, getting really, really mindful with mandalas. You would write your intentions around it and then glue it into your journal. So mandalas are, truly amazing in terms of helping you to move into a different kind of space. But I really, really like these hands in terms of bringing the energy of this kind of symbology into your journal. And then I write about my expectations for the coming month or the coming journal or something like that. So I think about how I'm feeling, what I want to have happen, and thinking about what kind of thoughts have I got as I enter this next phase. So, for example, here in Spain, we've just gone into a non-lockdown. We're not allowed to leave our what's called a municipality, if I could speak. And basically that just means our little regional area where we have a town hall. So it's not the region and it's not the comunidad, it's just a tiny, tiny little area. And so, I have, drawn my hand and written in my journal about kind of how I'm feeling about going into this next non-lockdown period. So I think about, what would make my month go well. I would think about what outcomes I want and what I would want at the end of the period. So bringing that energy into the journal, connecting with my muse, doing that three hearts meditation, and just sitting quietly, start with the mundane and then the magic will come. So the next thing I do for my journal is I have a thing called a bucket list for the soul. And basically that is split into the mundane, the material and the magical. So a bucket list for the soul is not necessarily that you want a £10 million house, although you might, or a new car, though you might. It really is a list of things that I want. So when I talk about the mundane might be that I want some new journals, or I want to explore a new thing for my dinner. I want to start eating in a different way. So I'll just start, just like I do, with the kicking off of any writing piece. I just start writing down those really, really kind of mundane things that I want. I do write down the material things. So the things that you might put on your vision board, some of those things. So what I tend to do with the material is I will take my mind around my house and I go, right, well, I want new windows and I'd like to have a new bathroom. And so they're material things, but they're things that will make me feel good because they're stuff that I want. And then the magical is the more kind of spiritual, the more creative, the things that would really take my life in a different direction. So my magical things on my bucket list will be, so I've written for years and years and years. I have lots of journaling books and all sorts of stuff. But my big dream is to write a novel. And I've designated 2021 as my year to I'm not going to say I'm not going to write any more journaling books, but my focus is that really getting into my heart, my soul, and bringing my creative spirit to the page by writing a novel. So for me, that thing on my bucket list is a truly magical thing, as is the community that I want to create around this, the power of journaling, the love to journal brand that I'm building and stuff like that. So mundane, material, magical, and it literally is just right. Now here's the thing, if you write it on loose pieces of paper and leave yourself a bit of space in between, you can rip those bits of paper, or you can do it on post-it notes, or you can write them on little index cards, and you can pop them in a jar. And then what you can do is go to your jar and go, I'm going to work on this thing for my bucket list today. So there's lots of things you can keep them in your journal, put them into a box or a jar or something like that. You can use them in just so many different ways, but mundane, material and magical. And with my material ones, as I do stuff on the house, I just tick off the list that I've done those things. Then what I have is I have a number of what I call life focus areas. So I have 10 areas that I kind of look at. And what I do with my bucket list is I put the items on my bucket list in my list of life areas. So I might have like spiritual, well-being, health, I might have business, finance, that sort of stuff. But what I also do with the life areas is, I've got this list of 10. I will write down 0 to 10. 0 means I'm not doing terribly well, and 10 means, yeah, everything's amazing and fantastic. And that gives you that opportunity. So if you're doing this monthly or at the new moon or the start of the journal or, however you choose to do it, you've got this picture of how the stuff in your life is going. So, if we picked finance, for example, the way that you would mark it is potentially different to me. So you might look at your financial goals. I might look at, say, some financial successes that would perhaps be very different to yours, but it's our interpretation. So I do the bucket list, then I look at my life focus areas, and then I ask these questions. So like I said, you don't have to, you can scribble them down if you want, but if you want to, just contact me and I'll give you this sheet of paper. So the first question is, where am I? And what that means is you put a stake in the ground and you do a 360-degree review of where you find yourself. How you're feeling right now. Are you like me in a situation where you can't go anywhere? How does that feel? What's happening in terms of your business, your relationships. And this is very much not a marking yourself out of 0 to 10. This is very much about how I feel about where I am. What do I see? What do I know? What do I sense? So where am I right at this moment? And then there's that lovely question about, where do I want to be? So this is more like kind of like outcomes. So if I'm here and I want to get to there, well, what does there look like? What does there mean to me? And so it's just writing a little bit about that journey that you think you're going to undertake. And just because you write it doesn't mean to say you have to do it, but it's what is in your heart right at this point. And then what do you want to create? So whenever I start working with anybody on whatever the project is, I want to know what they want to create in the world. What do you want to create? So if I look at this writing of this novel, I want to create this space that is for me and my creativity, that where I can birth these crazy novels and ideas and things that I've got in my head that have been there for a really, really long time. So I want to create this. I want to create the life of a novelist, as well as the other things that I still love doing. So what do you want to create? So if I was talking to someone, let's say someone asked me some advice about a book, what do you want to create in terms of your business, your life? What is that book going to give you? What is it going to bring you? What else can you do with it? So creation is really opening up that space and standing in the field of possibilities and saying, what is it that I want to create in my world? And that is such a delicious question. The next question, you don't have to do all these all in one go, by the way. I'm obviously going through them bit by bit, but I actually do all of these all in one go. So I'll sit in my bed. I go to bed a little bit earlier, and I'm there with all my different coloured pens and doing stuff. So what does my future self know? Now, I love this. So what I tend to do with my future self question is Let's say I want to know something about, let's say something I want to launch. I will ask a question of my future self. And then what I typically do is I will put that question under my pillow and I'll sleep on it. So when I've slept on it, when I get up in the morning, my future self will have come to visit me and they tell me all the steps that I need to take. And again, it's that start scribbling the mundane, and then your future self will come in and go, oh, and give you all of the answers. I promise you, it truly, truly works. Now, the other thing you can do with your future self is, so my future self lives in, so I live in Spain. My future self appears not to live in Spain by the style of house that I see myself in. But I have this room that's got a massive window, this kind of colour sofa. And there's a big fireplace and there's a lovely bookcase, and she always serves me tea and cake. And if anyone knows me, I absolutely love tea and cake. So I actually take myself in my mind's eye to meet my future self, to ask those questions, and then I come back and journal whatever has come up. Now, clearly you need to make all of this stuff work for you, but I love going to have tea and cake with my future self and then coming back and journaling what comes up. The other thing that I want to do at the beginning of a new period is I want to connect to what I call my big life goal. So mine is writing the novel. That is like my most massive thing. I have a vision board up there that it's a kind of abstract and weird. And I left the UK 6.5 years ago, left most of my possessions behind, left a really horrible relationship. I discovered something 6 weeks later. Me and my doggies were in the motorhome and I drove to a rundown old house in Spain, and I took that with me because that is my vision about becoming a novelist. And I've had lots of false starts and I've let lots of things get in the way, which I have journaled through. I have journaled and journaled through my blocks. And what happens now is, you know, I've gone through all like my goal setting and stuff, and I've decided 2021 is the year that I write this novel. And no procrastination, no resistance. And what I'm doing currently is, as an idea pops up, guess where it goes? It goes in my journal. Mind you, I've got all those different journals by the side of my bed. I'm going to have a bit of a search to find all the different things that have ideas and things that have come up. So what I do is I come back to that big dream. Now, of course, a dream is only a dream until you turn it into a goal. So I come back to it time and time again and just remind myself the steps I've got to take. So I know that I've got to map out the characters, do the plot. Right. Yes, that's the thing I have to do. I actually have to write the thing. But I've been doing this for a while now, so it's kind of in here. And that's what journaling does, is if you keep bringing yourself to the paper, you will realize your visions, your dreams, your goals, whatever those things are that you want to talk about. So the other thing I do then is I look at my other goals. One of the things I don't do is have masses of goals, because you get into goal overwhelm, because then you're sitting there going, oh, I've got all these goals and I've got all this to-do list and I'm going to do that, and it's like and you never get anything done. So I just remind myself of my goals, my 90-day plan, stuff like that, just to say to myself, am I still on track? Are these things still important to me? And the journal and the journaling will let you know. Then the other thing I do is I reconnect to my vision, and I do that, and I really love this exercise. I write my perfect day. So I pick a day in the future and I write about everything that's just there for me. And as I go through the month, I bring that visualization into my heart. I see it all the time. I'm walking it, I'm living, breathing it, I'm eating it. But it really, really helps to write the perfect day. Now, something that is really, really fab with the perfect day exercise is I've got a little plant pot on my altar, and it's got loads of crystals in it. But just to demonstrate, if you could get like a little candle holder or a tiny little plant pot, write your perfect day, put it in here. Now I've got clients who do things like put love hearts in with it, and then they put it in a candle holder. They put the candle in, and they'll put a layer of crystals, and kind of not burn the perfect day, but they'll let the energy of the fire take their perfect day vision off into the universe. So that is so lovely. So if you're the kind of person that has an altar, write your perfect day, put loads and loads of, choose the right crystals that feel good and stick it on your altar. And that's about planting your vision. So that's really, really super lovely to do. Checking in with your values. I know this sounds like a lot, but you don't have to do it all in one go. I'm just giving you some ideas. I'm sitting there going, these poor people are going to be sitting there going, I'm never going to start journaling. This mad woman's giving me all these things to do. Just pick the things that you like to do. I mean, like I said, my journaling has evolved, and I love the start of something new and really bringing everything together just to remind myself. So checking in with your values. Now, you probably do that on a daily basis, because if somebody does something to you and it cuts across your values, write it in your journal, because you're going to get some massive ahas. You're going to find things like, see, this is what journaling does. It lets you see patterns and pictures of your behavior. So you might find that certain things cross your values and you hadn't really thought about it, but when you put it in your journal, suddenly you discover you are you've got imposter syndrome, you procrastinate, you have really weak boundaries, your self-esteem is not as strong as you thought it was, you're not standing in your personal power. Your journal will tell you that. And checking in with your values is a great way of really seeing, are you standing in your personal power? Are you strong here? Are you confident? And are you assertive? And one of the things you can do in terms of assertiveness is that, let's say you need to have a conversation with somebody, and I'm sure many of you know this, you use I words. I feel, because nobody can argue with your feelings. So if you say to someone, you make me feel so cross, well, actually, they don't. We make ourselves feel cross. So you can practice conversations. Now, of course, I can't guarantee that the conversations will go exactly as you've written them, but the journal is a great place for learning to stand in your power and hold those assertive conversations using the magic of the I word. And then you can really help to speak your truth and heal your throat by practicing them out loud. So often when I write things in my journal, if I feel that there's some healing that needs to take place, I'll speak that out loud. And a lovely exercise for that, which is great for healing the heart and the throat, is to write dear heart and just pour your heart out to your heart and then talk it out loud. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm a little bit of a sensitive sausage. So what ends up is I'm like, oh dear heart, and I'm crying and blubbering. It's great because we're getting that energy out and releasing things. And it's so wonderful and cleansing and healing. So that's our values. And then what's the next aligned inspired step? What's the next thing I need to do? If you don't know, ask your future self, ask your guides. So like I said earlier, write something in your journal, stick it under your pillow and sleep on it. And the final thing I do, as well as all the other things I do, because I just do so adore journaling, is in the back of my journal. I keep a record of successes and celebrations. You know, just this week I was feeling really, really naffed off. There was all these rumours that we weren't going to be able to travel, that we were going to get another lockdown. I wouldn't be able to go and see my friends or my family. And, you know, most of the time I don't really care. I live in a tiny, tiny little village. I live by myself with my 2 dogs. The hills are amazing. I can walk them. I hardly ever see anybody. But something was really rattling at my energy. And I was not in my bestest of places. And what I did is I went to my journal. I went to the back of my journal and I wrote down all the successes that I had achieved in the last couple of weeks, all the journaling books that I had formatted, refocused, rewritten, new ones that I was in the process of writing, doing stuff for a program. And I just sat there and I thought, oh, actually I've done quite a lot. Oh, look at me. And then, you know, when I look further back and I look at, well, what happened when lockdown came in March in Spain? What did I do? Well, I decluttered my business. I got rid of things that I didn't want to do anymore. I re-recorded a load of courses. I've increased my student numbers back. And I just, in that moment, I just went, oh, right, yeah. So recording your successes and celebrations in the back of your journal is absolutely amazing. Okay, so I don't want to overload your brain. And like I said, you can have a copy of this. All you got to do is just private message me. So I'm Dale Darley. Just private message me. It literally is. I've just taken some stuff. Which way is it? I've just taken some different stuff out of different journaling books, just for inspiration for you. And that lovely mandala is there. What I will do, and I will scribble that on here because I've forgotten to put it in, is I will put something down about a gratitude practice. So I'm not a big fan of writing every day like 100 million things that I'm grateful for, because it holds no meaning whatsoever. Well, it does, but what holds more meaning, so I do gratitude journaling a couple of times a week, and I do it with the affirmations. So I have an orange journal for this. So I'll pick an affirmation and I'll go through the day with my affirmation. And then what I do is I write between 1 and 3 things that I'm grateful for. So I'll write about what happened with the affirmation. Then I'll do this gratitude practice. So what am I grateful for? Then I look and say, were there any challenges or lessons that I needed to learn in terms of getting to that state of gratitude for that thing? Then I look and say, what are the gifts that I have been given? Because there's gifts, there's lessons and gifts in everything. So I look for those wonderful, wonderful gifts that I've been given. And then I talk about appreciation. So I come right into my heart space and I say, you know, maybe I'm grateful for the fact that my friend has gone shopping for me, and she actually has had to message her and say, please don't knock on my door. I'm doing a live thing. I deeply, deeply appreciate that she has gone and done my shopping for me, because I don't have to go out into the craziness that is, it's down the mountain and it's not a very big place, but I'm so massively grateful for all of her love and support, and I truly appreciate her. I put that in my journal. So gratitude is not just going, I'm grateful for my house, my car, my dogs, my food, my chips, my banana, my whatever it is. It's, this is what I'm grateful for. This is the gift, the lesson, the challenge. So for me, I have some challenges in terms of wearing masks, for example. I have a bit of a chest condition, so when I wear a mask I end up coughing. So, you know, there's a challenge for me. So I'm so grateful. And that's what I'd write in my journal. So it's not just that I'm grateful. It's really bringing that deep, deep appreciation in and looking for the gift that you have been given, because surely you have. So I'll add gratitude to that, and then you can have a copy of that if you want it. All you got to do is message me. And just some other stuff. So we've talked about free writing, we've talked about prompts, we've talked about using journaling books, we've talked about bringing energy to our journals, and by now you're going, this is all too much. But I just want to leave you with something that is really, really, truly. I don't know if you're into oracle cards. So I've got lovely oracle cards, and so I'm going to use these Louise Hay Power Thought cards. And so what I've got by the side of my bed is many years ago, I did a 2-year crystal therapy diploma. I've never been a crystal therapist, but I adore crystals. And I've got this really old pack of crystal oracle cards. And they are my go-to when I'm looking for inspiration. They're massive cards. I'll shuffle those and I'll pick a card and I will tune in with what I see on the card and use that as a prompt. But you could use any oracle card. So I'm going to shuffle these, and this, I'm going to leave this, whatever comes up, this is your message for the day, and something that you, actually this is a really lovely, I love these cards. This is really great. So you can take this into your heart, you can journal on, and it says, I now live in limitless love, light and joy, and all is well in my world. So I would look at that, and I'm not quite sure. Oh, right. So hang on. So I can see the stars, the moon, a heart, and a bit of blue sky. So I would look at the image. Hi, Sonia. Hello. So I would look at that image and see what it says to me. It's my absolute pleasure. You can tell I'm like so passionate about this. So I would look at this, but I would ask myself a question, how do I make everything well in my world? And the other side says, my future is glorious. And that is such an amazing word, glorious. So I would, these aren't, these are power thought cards, but oracle cards, any kind of card, pick the card, look at the image. When I look at that, there's all stars and hearts and love and all sorts. And what that makes me want to do is close my eyes and come into myself and say, in what way is my life glorious? And I do believe, as much as I whinge and complain about the fact I can't go out, I do believe that I am so blessed and lucky that I live in the middle of nowhere. Because I take my dogs for 4 walks a day, and I don't see anyone. I don't see a soul, and I'm out in the beautiful countryside. I'm really connecting in with Mother Earth, and that's the other really wonderful thing about journaling is when you've journaled and you do something like maybe a meditation or a walk, and you're getting outside and you're in Mother Nature, this will give you answers. Because when I'm walking along, something I've written in my journal, I was like, oh, and I start to see those patterns and pictures. So, like I said, what I'm going to do is I'll add a little bit of some gratitude stuff to this. And if you want it, let me know. Or Sonia, you might just want me to put it in the files for the group. I really, truly don't mind. But I'm just about to take my dogs for walk number 3. And I'll do this when I come back. So if you want it, let me know. And it's got, all kinds of just little things. But what I want to leave you with this is make journaling your own. Find the right space, right environment, the right tools, the right beautiful things you want to write with, and do it your way, because that way you'll get the most out of it. Like I said, I've been journaling for 30 odd years, and everything has changed from those horrible days 30 years ago when my life felt horrible, and every night I wrote about and got all my anger out and everything, and now it's a little lighter and a little fluffier. So I am going to love you and leave you, and I'm going to send you masses and masses of love. And if you've got any questions, put them below the video. I will come back and keep checking in. If there's anything I can help you with, you want any guidance in any way, just let me know. And I'm super happy to share. And